Have you been asked to complete a one-way video interview and you're absolutely dreading it? You've done them before and you know you hate them. In this video, we're going to talk about learning to change your mindset to achieve success and understand exactly why people don't like filming one-way video interviews. So the first problem that often happens here is that people feel offended when they're asked to complete a one-way video interview. So maybe they get that email in their inbox telling them that they've moved on to the next stage and then sending them the link to then click and record your responses. And so often people see it as a snub in the face because they don't know why the company is asking them to do this. And so think instead of the one-way video interview being a replacement for the phone interview. So you wouldn't be offended if, someone from HR calls you and asked to do a phone screening. But that's exactly what's happening here, except that with the advancement of technology, now everything's more automated. You complete the link and do it on your own time. So understanding the purpose of the one-way video interview can also help with not feeling offended. So the purpose of this step is an opportunity to bring your resume to life. It's a chance to show that you're not a robot, that they should hire you instead of an AI coworker. And remember that the company doesn't care if you love or hate this medium. That's completely irrelevant to them. They see the one-way video interview as a solution, and there's a reason that they've chosen this. So it's very likely more convenient, more affordable. There's more opportunities to sift through candidates, and this allows them to hire the best person for the job. So problem number 2 is that it's uncomfortable to talk to yourself. That's often one of the main reasons why people don't like the one-way video interview is they just find it so unnatural to talk to yourself. Not only that, but you're also talking to yourself about yourself and essentially promoting your qualities, skills, and abilities. So this is probably going to affect different age groups differently if you are used to filming TikTok content and that is not something that is that out of scope for you, then maybe filming the one-way video interviews are easier than say if you avoid technology altogether. So instead, try imagining that you're talking to someone else. So don't think of it as I'm just talking to myself, but imagine that you were promoting your friend. So say you were completing the video interview for a friend. How would that change how you're talking about that person or the mindset towards what you're doing? Oftentimes it feels okay to positively praise someone else, but it feels weird to do that about ourselves. But try and think of that as the end goal. You are praising this person, and this person happens to be yourself. So, one of the other reasons why people don't find the one-way video interviews comfortable or a natural process is that they're comparing it to an actual interview. So that makes sense given that interview's in the title. However, if you go into the lens of filming a one-way video interview with the thought process that it actually is very similar to an in-person interview where you have that interviewer feedback, that's where you're going to go awry. So people expect in an interview to be speaking to someone else, to get that nonverbal feedback to assess how they're doing. And so these two types of interviews are so different. So one option could just be to completely ignore any experience you've had with in-person interviews. And that's tough, but that makes sense because you want to kind of remove that natural feeling of wanting to have verbal confirmation that you're doing well, nonverbal confirmation. The other option is to print out a photo of someone, maybe a stock photo of an HR person, put them behind your camera and pretend that you're talking to them. And that can maybe help with that familiarity back and forth conversation. So problem number 3 is people don't know how the interview is going. They don't know whether they're giving answers that are on track, whether their answers are completely off base. And when we're talking with someone in person, we can often tell, okay, yes, they're resonating with what I'm saying. I'm getting some nods. They look really tired. They're checking their watch. But again, with the one-way video interview, you don't have any of that. And so I think the solution for this is to just assume that it's going well. You don't know how it's going. And so you can either assume that you are succeeding and doing really well, or you can assume that you're bombing it and it's going horribly. But between those two options, one of them is going to put you in a better mindset, help you move forward, help you kind of persevere and get the right answers through. And the other one is going to have you overthinking, ruminating, feeling really lost in the interview process. So imagine that you are giving the right responses, you're getting nonverbal feedback from someone, and every single answer is moving you forward in the next stage of the interview. Problem number 4 is people don't know when will this end. So unlike that in-person interview where you can read the body language, you can understand when the interview might be wrapping up, there's no cues in the one-way video interview about how many questions are left. There might be a progress bar at the top that says how far along you're coming, but there might not. And there might be something indicating how many questions are left, but there's no guarantee that that's the case. So this can cause people to kind of feel more tired than you normally would be because you don't know if you're about to film your last question or if there's about 20 more questions that can happen. But if you think about it, there's going to be kind of a certain number of baseline questions that are common across one-way video interviews. And so these are going to be more common interview questions that maybe are easier to ask without diving into someone's specific resume. Because bear in mind that one of the purposes and the beauties of one-way video interviews is that they're standardized. So everyone's asked the same amount of questions. So you know if everyone's being asked the same questions, they're not going to be really detailed about your personal history. The other thing too is realistically in an in-person interview, you don't know when the interview is going to end. So there is that similarity there in that sometimes interviewers can throw curveballs and they can keep asking questions, keep asking prompts. So problem number 5 is there's no chance to ask clarification questions or questions about the company or questions about what it's like working at that organization. And so what we call this is no chance to build rapport with the interviewer. So normally with an in-person interview, you come into the organization and you have a little chit chat, you talk about the commute, talk about the weather. But, there are potential problems with developing strong rapport with an interviewer. Maybe that can cause them to either really like or really dislike you, and that can then impact how they view your interview. And so you can see it as a good opportunity to increase that standardization, to not have people think differently about your performance based on whether they like you as a person. But as well, there's no chance to clarify the questions themselves. So maybe if in an in-person interview, someone asks you a question, you don't understand the meaning of it, you can ask a clarification question to be like, oh, did you mean this? But obviously with the one-way video interview, there's no interviewer present. So one solution to this is think about how is everyone most likely to interpret this question? Are they going to be interpreting it in a very slight nuanced way with the word that you think could have a different meaning? Or are they going to assume certain things? So just think about your everyday person. What are they going to be thinking when they're interpreting this question? The other solution is to just kind of put out there, I'm not certain what this question means. I'm assuming it means this, and then launch into your answer. So essentially you are just stating what you think what you think the question's asking, and then just go for it. So those are 5 reasons why people often don't like the one-way video interview. That's why they often dread it. However, there are many benefits to one-way video interviews, and I'd love to hear what are some other things that you struggle with the one-way video interview, and what are reasons why you don't like them, and then maybe we'll make a part 2 video after that. Thank you so much.